Really? I waited a whole extra year to watch this? Let's talk about it. So Spiral, the Book of Saul, or from the Book of Saul, stars Chris Rock and Sam Jackson, and is directed by Darren Bousman, who directed 2, 3, and 4, and was written by the two writers who wrote Jigsaw. Now, I wanted to see this movie because I'm a fan of the Saw franchise, hence why I got the damn shirt on. I'm a fan of the franchise. I reviewed it, seen the movies multiple times. They have such great continuity, great gore, fun traps, and I wanted to see it because you have Darren Bousman directing it, who directed 2, 3, and 4. 3 is my favorite of the franchise. You had the writers of Jigsaw coming back, and I liked Jigsaw, didn't love it. It had some issues, but I liked it. And, they also wrote like the Sorority Row remake. They did one of the Piranha movies, which was fun. So I was on board. I was a little hesitant when I found out Chris Rock and Sam Jackson were going to be in it because this franchise, let's be honest, isn't known for having like huge names attached to it. So when they were throwing all these like stars in it, I was like, that could be different, but it could also be not good. So yeah, I went into it optimistic. I wanted to love it. I had to wait a whole extra year to watch it. It was agonizing. I was praying that they wouldn't fuck with the continuity of the franchise, that they would, maybe tie up some loose ends from before, bring back characters, do something to justify this movie's existence, and they did not. This movie is my least favorite in the franchise, easily. But before we go into my likes and dislikes, let's talk about the plot. What is the plot of Spiral? Working in the shadow of his father, Detective Zeke Banks and his rookie partner take charge of an investigation into grisly murders that are eerily reminiscent of the city's gruesome past. First thing I like about this movie is the traps. This is what we go to see Saw movies for, really. It's the cornerstone of the franchise, the gore, the traps, and the gore is fantastic. It's of Saw quality, the stuff we've seen before, some really good body mutilations in the movie. It's fantastic. So it's got the gore, it's got the Carnage candy sprinkled throughout that I really liked seeing because that's me. I'm a gore hound. So it delivers on that. It has about 4 or 5 traps in the movie that were pretty good. I do have to question how this person was able to make these devices and how these devices exactly worked and how they knew when to stop and shit like that. Maybe he was watching. I don't know. Have some questions, but that's for like a spoiler discussion, which I probably won't do. But yeah, I mean, there's questionable things in here. I have some questions, but I'm not going to get into it. I'm going to keep this a little bit cryptic, spoiler free as possible. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'll try. So, but yeah, traps, gore, great stuff. I like that this movie does something a bit different with the narrative, where we got this guy kind of like in Saw 4 a bit, where the guy is free to roam. It's it's a cop. In part 4 it was a SWAT guy, I think Riggs or Griggs. Is it Riggs or Griggs? I don't know, one of those two. But kind of like in Saw 4, we got the guy, Chris Rock. He's going from place to place. He's finding all the bodies, trying to figure out who's the new copycat killer. So I like that idea. The execution, no, but I like that we went in that direction instead of trapping people in just one room again or trapped in one building, abandoned zoo, abandoned factory. It's a guy roaming the city, which I thought was different and a bit of a fresh air. Another thing I like is that this one looks a little bit more slick and polished. It looks higher budget than some of the other ones. This one in Jigsaw, it doesn't have that green yellow filter that like 2 through 4 have, that a lot of people don't like. I could take it or leave it, but I'm glad it wasn't here. This one looks better. And because I'm a fan of the franchise, I really liked seeing them bring back the pig mask that the killer wears before he kidnaps each victim. They bring back the Play Me tapes, the TV set. Those are the things that kind of make this movie feel like a Saw movie and make it earn its title, from the Book of Saul. They also have the picture of John Kramer in the movie at one point. They make reference to him. Another thing I liked as a fan of the franchise, the Hello Zep music that plays at the end during the reveal. That was like, when I heard it, I was like, oh, that's great. But was it earned? Not really. They don't earn that reveal, that twist. It's just forced, and it was rushed and lazy. There is one cool foreshadowing moment in the middle of the movie. There's something that's shown, and then at the end, it kind of like flashes back, like, yeah, I remember that. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It brings a poetic ending to the film. What happens at the end, I'll try not to spoil it, but there's a poetic justice at the end, and I like it. What I don't like about this movie is, first up, this new killer. He ain't no Jigsaw. You're not Jigsaw, bitch, as Detective Matthews would say. this this guy's not trying to like better people. He's trying to just fucking kill them. There is no chance for survival. It's just die or die. Make your choice. I could be wrong, but every trap I saw, it seemed like the end game was they just need to die. And then when the reveal at the end happens, and when the person's talking, I think they even say like, "This is what I wanted to do. I just want to kill them. Like I want to give them a chance to survive and be better people." It's just no. I want them dead. I don't like the soundtrack to this movie at all. It has a bunch of hip hop and rap songs that play for way too fucking long. There's like 4 of those songs that play in this movie. A thing that just doesn't make it feel like a Saw movie. I don't like the soundtrack. Chris Rock gives a very unconvincing performance. He tries to be badass in some moments, and I'm not buying it for 1 second. This role obviously just wasn't meant for him, because him playing a serious character like this just wasn't working for me. And all his comedic timing, his line delivery was awkward at times. The jokes just weren't landing. It felt like he was just inserting jokes from like his upcoming comedy Netflix special. And some of the writing was just poor, especially when it comes to like what's going on, who the killer is. Like there's hardly any red herrings. I guessed who the killer was the minute I saw the person. As soon as they enter frame, I was like, it's this person. And then at no point did I ever change my mind or go, well, maybe it's this person. There is no intrigue to this movie. I was never intrigued. The story's not gripping. It's not suspenseful. There's nothing that keeps me interested and on my toes throughout this movie. I just knew who the killer was going to be. The way it was written was so painfully obvious that I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Which is an absolute shame. That's what these movies also were known for. Not just traps and gore, but the twist. What's the twist? Who's the next apprentice? Who's the next killer? Who's doing it and why? How are they going to blow my mind? This movie did not blow my mind at all. When they do that reveal at the end and they're like, remember this line? Remember this moment? Well, that's what it meant. Did you guess it? Yeah, I did. I knew everything. They didn't. They completely failed to pull the rug out from under me. This movie also just feels like it doesn't belong in the franchise at all. It doesn't do anything to bring it in a new direction. It just feels it's like the other Saw movies. It doesn't do anything different. And it pissed me off that there was a line in the movie where they're like, well, Jigsaw never killed cops before. Of course he fucking did. Did you watch those movies? Detective Hoffman got killed. Matthews, there's other cops that got killed in this franchise. Jigsaw killed crooked cops before, not just criminals. They're acting like this is the first movie in the franchise to kill cops. And I get it why they're doing it, because it's a hot topic nowadays. They're trying to do this social commentary, this relevant message today about crooked cops and they need to be taken down, blah blah blah. Like I get what the message is to this film. It's very obvious, but it's not new. Like they've killed crooked cops before in this franchise. Not having John Kramer in the movie just proves that a Saw movie just doesn't really work without him. This movie just, like I said, it doesn't feel like it belongs in the franchise. You could have just taken some things out of it and it just would have felt like another torture movie or like another Seven, some police investigation movie. You could have just taken that picture of John Kramer off the wall, taken the spiral symbol and turned it into something else, and people just would have walked out of the movie saying, oh, that was an interesting, torture movie. It kind of felt like Saw a little bit. But it's not really a Saw movie to me. I mean, there's little connections that I said, the pig mask, the Playmate tape. Like, obviously, this killer is inspired by what happened like a decade before or whatever. I don't know what year this takes place in, but it just doesn't really have much connection to the franchise. It doesn't try to tie up loose ends. It doesn't make much reference to the other movies. Where's Hoffman? Did he die in that bathroom? Where's Gordon? Where's Logan? What happened with them? Like, I'm more interested to see the sequel to Jigsaw than the sequel to this movie, definitely. So final thoughts. Spiral from the Book of Saw. I'm not sure what the Book of Saw is. They don't talk about it in the movie. What is this book? The book that Bobby Dagan wrote in Part 7. This movie is just a huge disappointment. It doesn't bring the franchise in an interesting, new, cool direction. It doesn't do anything different. It's just another installment with torture and traps, but hardly any connections to the franchise. It lacks really any suspense. Any real good storytelling. It's not intriguing. It's not clever. The twist is pathetic. It barely feels like a Saw movie. Like I said, you could have just taken a few things out. All the little nods to the other movies like the Pig Mask and the Playmate tape, change some things, make it its own story and movie. It's not It has no place in this franchise. It's not something that I would watch again, like a Saw marathon, because it has like no story connection really to those movies outside of the killer being inspired by John Kramer. It's just not really a Saw movie to me. It has some good traps in it and some good gore, but that's not enough for me to recommend it. When it comes to Spiral from the Book of Saw, skip this one. It is wasted time. And those are my probably controversial thoughts on this movie. I feel like I might be alone. I'm seeing a lot of people blow this movie like bloody disgusting. They're just pimping this movie out. I don't get it. Explain it to me. What was so great about it? It's just a weak entry in the franchise. Doesn't need to be here. But that's just my thought. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.